A very warm welcome to each one of you here. I know it's early in the morning, but we have our minister with us here. And this promises to be a very important day because we're going to attack the mindset that this country has. And very often, Maneka Gandhi has also said that it's the patriarchal society, the mindset that we live with, because of which we need movements like this called I Am Shalti. A great initiative by India Today, and we must take this forward. Mail Today has done a lot of work on field, encouraging and enlightening people about it. But I would now like to introduce my guest. At 33, she was the youngest minister. It's not been an easy life. But today, all you can say is that as Union Minister for Women and Child Development, the ministry lies in safe hands. Because she's always given her best, and with whatever cause Maneka Gandhi has taken up in her life, she's put her heart to it. And don't we need it when this cause comes? So let's begin the session. This promises to be very important. You can also ask your questions, and we'll try and look for answers which have probably not come across to us as of now. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the India Today group, especially Mail Today, for having invited me. I don't have a structured speech. What I'm going to do is I'm going to speak for about 10 minutes about our initiatives. And then I'd like you to, if it's not breaking any sort of protocol, if you have any questions to ask me, that's the best way to get to the truth of what we're doing. Frankly, when I got the assignment, I was extraordinarily nervous because I hadn't seen this ministry working in any known fashion. It seemed to me to be a token ministry, and I'm anything but a token person. So I came in here and then found that since we were working literally from ground zero, it was an amazing opportunity with people in the ministry raring to go with ideas. So we have, in the last 4 months, gelled a large number of ideas and schemes. We were the first, in fact, ministry to bring a bill to Parliament, and that was the Juvenile Justice Act, which has 3 important components in it. One is, of course, the well-known reduction from 18 to 16 for heinous crimes. But more than that, it has the redoing of children's adoption, and it has a new scheme called foster care for people who don't want to adopt but would like to have children growing up in their homes. It's fairly common abroad, but in India it's never been tried out, and we will, by April, completely have this scheme on the ground. Why are women subjected to violence? The answer to it is simply because men can. And why can men? Because most women have nowhere to go. They go, they are molested, or they're eve-teased, or they're beaten by their husbands, or they are thrown out of joint families, or they are, when they're widowed, are dumped somewhere, or have their property taken. For instance, one thing that perhaps you could investigate is the number of women in mental asylums who are not psychologically challenged, but are simply there because they inherited property and needed to be gotten out of the way. So why do they not have any recourse? Because if they go to a police station, the police station is unsympathetic. If they make them wait, they will call in their perpetrators to confront them, which is a psychologically damaging situation. They will not take it seriously. If they do take it seriously, then they will call in a doctor who will come hours later, will herd them off to an unfriendly hospital, where they will wait again for hours and hours, sometimes with their clothes off. And then the testing of the material on them by the police takes weeks and weeks. In between, they are harassed by the perpetrators, and they are forced into compromises. Ki chodo chodo, paise le lo, khatam karo. If all that doesn't scare them off, the next 10 years going in and out of courts will. The justice system in this country is the first place we should look at. But since we're not looking there at the moment, and since I don't have the bar to look at it, we need to go to a friendly place. So the first thing we thought of was to make these one-step crisis centers, the idea for which really did come from Amir Khan's Satyamev Jayate, because it seems such a simple and easy solution. So we worked very hard, and it's basically a building, a friendly, happy building. And in that building, there will be a person who's in charge of it, who will respond to a phone call for anything, from eve-teasing to stalking to molestation to anything, sometimes just to talk. The person will be a trained psychologist, if we can find one locally in every district. We will have a doctor on call, a lawyer on call, police on call, treatment given there. If the person wants to stay there for a few days, doesn't want to go home, we have an 8-bed place. And this will be linked with an ambulance to pick up the person in trouble and her family if they want, and also a helpline, an All India helpline. Long time ago, when I was Minister for Social Justice, I invented Childline, which is one of the most successful things in India for saving children. It's 1098. So a similar women's helpline is on the anvil and will probably be rolled out during this year. So you just have to call that line, you come in and you're treated, healed, your case is taken up. Everything is managed for you. Once men in the district know that there is a place which stands firmly, quickly and strongly for women, it will be a deterrent, I hope. The other things that we have, apart from safeguarding women after they have been molested, would be perhaps to start right at the bottom or right at the beginning, which is the child-sex ratio. As you all know, the ratio in western areas, that is Punjab, Haryana, Gujarat, Chandigarh, Delhi, Maharashtra, is precarious. It's on an average of about 815, 825 per 1,000 men. Now, this program is, nobody can understand why the ratios are going down, because people said, all right, education, but education hasn't helped. Chandigarh has a dismal ratio, and everybody there is educated and comes and does well. Why does it happen? There are no answers at the moment. All we know is that you put one district right, the other district slides. And it's not static at all. There is no point in which we can sit down and say, yes, we've achieved success here. It's also going down rapidly. Could it be one of two reasons? One, we find that the perpetrators of getting rid of girls are in the middle class, upper middle class and rich. And that could be because if a society or if a family has decided to have a minimum number of children, then they simply want what they want. If they want a boy, then they will just have a boy. The second is, we've put the entire onus and blame on gynecologists, giving them the sex. To a certain extent, to a very small extent, this is true, and it applies to people who are rich, upper middle class, and perhaps at the creamy end of the middle class. And yes, this is not going to stop. It is also the end of the road where we can blame gynecologists and where we can say this is a successful deterrent because we've put 970 gynecologists into jail. We will not be able to use this anymore, because within a few days there is a system coming out in which you can do a blood test and know the sex of your child within 40 days. So well within abortion parameters. So then we will have to look at other things. So what we have done is we've adopted, the Prime Minister gave us this idea, we've got something called Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. And in Beti Bachao, we're working to change the mindset in 100 constituencies in which we make it, we show you how having a girl is economically fine, culturally fine, and good for the family. This program will be rolled out on the 1st of next month. And we hope that if we do 100 together and contiguously, we will be able to get some kind of mindset change. So that's one of the programs. We have a national mission for malnutrition. These don't go directly upon defense of women. So you're going to say, how does a malnutrition thing work? Well, malnutrition, if it's 47% of children, you will find that girls' statistics on malnutrition are much, much, much worse, making them weaker for most of their lives. So if you don't kill them in the womb, you do it slowly, slowly. You make them stupider, actually, by not giving them enough nutrition. So that is another major program of ours. It's called the National Nutrition Mission. Then I have a program in which we skill train. Most women would like to earn. They don't necessarily want to leave their houses, but they would like to earn. And I would like to teach them how to earn money sitting at home. Not just with handicrafts and things that people are forced to buy because they feel sorry for the tribe making it or something, but sensible programs. And so we would like to start a skill training center specifically for women in every state. We're looking for partners. We have the scheme already. And we would like some people to come forward or some companies to come forward. We've been talking this through. And if we could make these wonderful, amazing women's ITIs, not just for young women, but for 60-year-olds and 50-year-olds and anybody who wants to learn and earn, the whole scheme would involve teaching them what they wanted to know, what was locally possible, ranging from agriculture to whatever they wanted, to engineering. And I hope to get these out this year itself. We have a few partners in mind. If we can do skill training and produce master trainers for simple things like mushroom growing, plumbing, somebody came to me yesterday with an idea, if we could help him start an all-women's taxi service with just scooters so that women would feel safer going home. And I said, that's a brilliant idea, and we'd be happy to help with it all over. So we're open to ideas on that. Then, my goodness, we have so many of them. We have actually 31 ideas. Hopefully, they will all be on the road by April to mark the first year. And if you have some, and if you have some questions, then I can come to them as we speak. If we can educate women from schools, one of our programs is called Sabla. And this is an interesting program. We will be tagging on to HRD. And what we do is, in every school, we are going to borrow the children for 3 hours a week. We pay for it. We pay the teachers. It's a proper exam-based schedule. But one day, every alternative day, we get an extra hour in which the first hour, we teach them how to negotiate the world. What is insurance? What does the administration do? How to fix things? All sorts of things that have to do with the world. The second is to do with their bodies. Where your organs are placed. When you should get married. When should you have children? What is a fungal infection? What sanitary towels, for instance, how to use them. So everything would be in that, women and their bodies. The third one, which is still being debated, which I would like, is to teach them some kind of karate, taekwondo. It may not be of a great use, but it will be a psychological boost to the girl if she believes she can defend herself. So Sabla is also going to be one of the programs. So basically we've divided it into education, skill development, actual defense, in terms of the helplines, the places, the deterrence in court. These are the three, and then of course anything else that we can think of. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, and I'm open to questions.
Yeah. With your permission, before we go to the audiences, if I could ask you certain questions. You've talked of crisis intervention, you've talked of the causes behind it and how we have to even try and change the mindset. But because you've seen Indian politics from so close, from the times of Indira Gandhi to today, we have political parties, so many of them headed by women, from Mamata Banerjee to Mayawati to Jayalalitha. But why is it that in so many years also we've not been able to push the reservation bill across, still in the Rajya Sabha? Where do you think the envelope is not being pushed enough?
I'm not so sure. The reservation, I mean, doesn't seem to be politically correct, but the reservation bill is a good idea. But before we come to the reservation bill, there is one thing that I would like to talk about, and that is what kind of women come to the top. In about 40 years ago, Rajiv Gandhi made the Panchayati Raj, and that was a brilliant idea. What was brilliant about it was that he said that 33% of all women should be elected to panchayats, to the Zilla Parishad, to the village head, to the pradhanis, and that they would change every 3 years, so that each village got a woman at some point, and then the rest of it would be divided into castes and general. Now that hasn't worked. And the reason why it hasn't worked, if it had worked, the reservation bill would have come up like this. But it didn't work. And the reason why it didn't work is because women who were then chosen as pradhans in villages were usually the weakest of the weak, or the wives and sisters and mothers of the strongest male caste in that village. So as soon as they were elected as pradhans, they were shoved off inside. We never saw them again. And the men took over the running of the village. Now this was even worse for the village, because the woman had to sign everything, every bit of money that has been spent, whether in Manrega or what the village gets. And now, because the village gets a lot of money, the elections are very bitterly fought. But she never went to any meetings. She never took part in any decisions. She could not get the women to rally round her. She could not make Anganwadis work. She could not get Ashas to work. She couldn't improve any systems in the village because she was not an administrator. The man called himself, actually this is such a common phrase, Pradhanpati. And this Pradhanpati is the one who goes to all the meetings. He meets the administrators, he meets the DMs and the SPs. And he actually decides where the money will be spent. Now when the money is stolen, as it often is, you can't put the woman in jail because it's not her fault, and you can't put the man in jail because he hasn't got his signature anywhere. Now if we could take this seriously and start a campaign against Pradhanpatis and make it completely illegal for them and a subject for transfer for the administration if they deal with them, then you would get a much stronger type of woman coming up. In actual fact, in spite of this Panchayati Raj system, I don't think there are any women who've come through the system right up into parliament, and very few, titch button, maybe 1% into the assemblies. So before we go right to the reservation system, because at this point, if you just do a reservation system, okay, it needs to be done. Having said that, what will you get? You'll get sisters, wives, mothers, perhaps even girlfriends. But you will not get that kind of woman who is a game changer. So we need to start much lower, make sure that the reservation that actually exists gets into play, works, and then move it up forward.
Very, very honest that you openly admit the disease that inflicts the parliament today. Bhai, Behan,
Not
Beti.
parliament, the whole system, starting at Panchayati Raj. Yeah.
But talking of the current political scenario, you talked of game changers. And Narendra Modi and his wave is the only topic we're talking about these days. So does that say on the other side that Sonia Gandhi failed as a leader?
I don't know whether I want to comment on this at all. I just don't think we should make it political. There were schemes that were started which perhaps they felt might change India, like Maneka, which have proved to be the most expensive failures ever. They were improperly monitored. Nobody was ever punished for stealing the money. It's not made anybody any richer. What it has done, it's destroyed cultural patterns and handicrafts down the line. It's made labor impossible to get. It's destroyed the entire carpet and silk industry in Banaras. It's skewed society in a way that has made the sarpanch election. You see, before the sarpanches used to be the oldest and wisest people in the village, and people who would act as an alternative justice system so that you didn't go to court. Now you've got the sarpanch is some brash 28-year-old who will fight with money, alcohol, and gundagirdi to become the sarpanch of the village so that he can control the Manrega funds. That's not nice. So there were lots of subjects like this. Did the previous government do anything particularly for women? I'm afraid not. In fact, my predecessor, who's a very, very nice person, and whom we share a guru with, actually didn't come to work for 2 years. So the office of Women and Child burnt down, and there was no office to come to. So I'm actually sitting in the coal minister's gifted office.
Yeah, the coal minister's office.
So
yeah.
It was that kind of ministry, which was token. So I can't say that it did a great deal. Perhaps we'll do better now.
Yeah, and we believe that it's in safe hands. Way back in '83, you formed your own party, and it's oh, okay, we'll come and concentrate on this. So now that with the Beti Bachao, because when we talked about when Modi came, he talked about India was thinking we can't keep this country clean. He said Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. When it was about manufacturing sector industry, he said Make in India. So what's the big slogan that you or the Prime Minister or this government is going to come up so that we can assure people that things like Nirbhaya, because it's not ending. People came on the streets. Nirbhaya was an incident that drew people to the streets, to India Gate. There was anger in the country. The politicians for the first time probably realized that this is an issue that will actually bring people to the streets. Anything big, anything huge that would work towards actually changing people's mindset?
I don't think it's going to be one thing. I think it's going to be a combination of Nirbhaya centers, putting the child sex ratio back on the map and working towards it. I think it's going to be the helpline. It's going to be a combination. It's going to be good nutrition. It's going to be retraining of the Anganwadis, of which I have 24 lakh women, an army that has never been used for 40 years. It's going to be a combination of these things that might make you feel better. Remember, at the end of the day, we are overpopulated. In an overpopulated country, people become more vicious in garnering resources. And one of the things that do break out would be perhaps not just religion against religion, but sex against sex, caste against caste, class against class. So it's not that you'll get an immediate miracle, but perhaps you could ask me this question after 5 years, when things, I promise, will be much better. There are no slogans that are going to change it. A slogan is great because it catches the imagination. But underneath that slogan, it's like a duck. What you see is the calm duck on top, and there's furious paddling under the water to keep the duck going. So I'm part of the furious paddling, and the duck is the slogan.
You're from Uttar Pradesh, and the one word that during the by-elections was very, very often used by people, and after the U-turn on love jihad in Uttar Pradesh, do you think it shows the party in a bad light, especially the UP BJP?
I don't think I'm going to comment on that at all.
Or you don't want to talk about love jihad? You think that there are genuine cases? You don't want to talk about that, or the kind of name being given to it is not needed?
It's like this. There have been no cases reported to my ministry. So as minister, I'm not sure that I can say anything about it because I don't have empirical evidence. However, as a member of parliament, there have been a number of cases in my constituency which have happened for a long time now, and which seem to be getting more and more. So as a member of parliament, and I have to say that I don't know what this love jihad is, because if the girl goes voluntarily with somebody she loves, then it's part of nature. But certainly there have been a large number of interreligious marriages in my constituency.
Coming back to women's safety, the most important initiative that we started called I Am Shalti. Prime Minister Modi on 15th August said that you have to start asking your boys where are they. You have to start asking them where are they. तुम कितने बजे घर आओगे? बेटियों से पूछना बंद करो, बेटों से पूछो. How will this go ahead? And do you think people will actually start thinking about this?
I hope so. I hope so.
You ask Varun?
Beyond. Varun is 34. He is married. He has a daughter of his own. I'm unlikely to ask him. For him to answer me.
As an adolescent?
But as an adolescent, he very, very rarely went out. So he was in college. And then as soon as he came back, my wonderful daughter-in-law, he paired with her, and so that was that. So I didn't really have to worry.
So what do women have to do at home, or men as parents at home, to change that mindset?
I think that if the husband is nice and respectful to his wife, the children will be respectful towards women. If they see their father being disrespectful to the wife, or not taking her opinions into consideration, being physical in any way, being abusive in any way, if he is abusive to his wife, if he is abusive to the maid servants, if he has any, if he is abusive to women who work for him in his office, his children are going to be exactly the same. So we have to take the adult male as our target, not children. Lots of us make the mistake of taking every program and focusing it on children. But if we could focus it immediately on adults, because they have the power to change much more than children, we would be able to work it.
Okay, we have... Okay.
One question, ma'am. Post-tragic Nirbhaya, a lot of things UPA government also announced, your government also announced, and in that one you had already discussed, for which I would like to know that what is the real status of this ambitious Nirbhaya center, because I have been told that it is stuck somewhere in the official red tape. Second, do you have also plans to overhaul this NCW, which is more like a political platform rather than a real women platform?
Okay, both of these are really annoying questions. Okay, the Nirbhaya centers are done and are in cabinet. Now, we have to wait till cabinet passes them. The minute they're passed by cabinet, the funding is ready, the AFCs have been done. The states have all written in, saying that they would like to do it. Lots of states have announced it, in fact, in their own budgets, the Nirbhaya centers. Every member of parliament has written to me saying that he would like them. So we're just waiting for cabinet. Now, perhaps it's been delayed because of two things. One is the elections, so everybody was busy there. And the second perhaps is because we still haven't made our presentation to the Prime Minister, as every ministry does, because he's been going abroad because of the elections. And so once we make our presentation, maybe we'll make it clearer. The second question was about the National Commission for Women. It is quite true that in the beginning, this National Commission for Women ran into a whole lot of glitches from the Law Ministry, because we had asked for, we had sort of gone really strong in order to strengthen it. Now we have reached, the Law Ministry has agreed and sat with my staff. We have redone it to a point where it will give women a lot of power to, or at least it will give the National Commission for Women a lot of power to handle women's questions. And hopefully it should come up to Parliament. Yeah.
You spoke about skill development, you spoke about rape crisis centers. Integration and cohesion at one level within the government always seems to be a problem. You spoke about how you would want to work with the HRD ministry, etc. Do you think there's enough cohesion within the government, you worked in previous governments as well, for something like this to succeed?
I think in this government, the Prime Minister is really keen on convergence. So it seems to be one of the catchwords. So convergence has become easier. It depends from scheme to scheme. For instance, one of the schemes, which is still in idea form, for which I've written to every state, but which I've yet to broach, it's my, it stopped with me because it's still at idea stage, is we could solve a large number of problems. And that depends now on how the media takes this up. If you take it up with the same ferocity that you took up the Nirbhaya centers, we might put this on a workable level, which is 33% of all police should be women. Now, Gujarat has done it. When, we have a training center in Hyderabad, and it's headed by a woman, in fact, amazing, somebody called Mrs. Bahuguna. And she is very keen to sensitize the police on women's issues. And I believe that it cannot be done, quite frankly. You cannot sensitize men again and again and again, because at the end of the day, they will be who they be. And especially the police, which has become a very unmanageable, untrainable sort of force for change. Possibly because there's so many complaints from morning to night. I'm not talking about the senior police, I'm talking about the Sipahi on the ground. Now, instead of training them and sensitizing them, if we simply had 33% women, they would get sensitized immediately. If I'm working as an SHO and I have 4 constables under me, of which 2 are women, then I'm sensitized. Rather than having to go to Hyderabad, get sensitized, come back, and then it's business as usual. Now, what we've done with women is the police forces, the home ministries of various states, have put women, the women that are already in the police force, have been further marginalized. They thought they were doing good, but it hasn't happened. It's had the opposite effect, because they put women into women's thanas, women's issues. Women can only arrest women. So the mainstream, they're completely out of. Now we need to bring women back, and if Gujarat can do it, I see no reason why the rest of India can't.
Good morning, ma'am. I just wanted to ask a few things. What are we doing for women's shelters and rehabilitating them? It's a big challenge, basically. We can rescue them, but where to rehabilitate them? And second is a suggestion, ma'am. If we can do a checklist, if we can make a checklist and go door to door, because it's required right now, because it's a high time we should do that and go door to door with a checklist and talk about, sensitize women and men both in the house for 10 minutes. If that program can be done, it will be a very great help. This is the suggestion.
I'm not so sure that I can go from or send people from door to door. It seems to be a good idea in concept. I don't think it works out. Even getting the census done takes us, ages. How would I go from door to door and sensitize men and women? It doesn't, the man already knows when he does something wrong. A stranger coming to his door and saying that, please be sensitive, please respect women, is unlikely to change his entire thing in those 10 minutes. It's like long time ago, there used to be stop smoking, at the back of railway tickets. And I used to say, you know, a man who won't stop smoking even if his wife and children tell him to, and if everybody is dying of cancer around him, he's unlikely to do so if he reads it in the back of a railway ticket. So it would have that effect. But it's not a bad idea. We could rejig it into something else.
With that, we end this session. A big round of applause for Maneka Gandhi for being with such sharing her ideas. And with the sentence I began, the ministry seems to be in really safe hands, and I hope we can change the mindset, because that's going to take us far. Thank you so much, ma'am.